It's been a few weeks since Rerir's story came out, and I've been thinking a lot about him. And I still believe that he is a tragic villain. Like, I love the character, I love the guy, I love how his story was written with Tholindis. I truly feel sad for how him and Tholindis were caught up in certain circumstances, and if it had not been for the Vinster King, for his madness, if it had not been for the Crimson Moon and the eclipse having a fallout, these two people might have lived different lives. These two might have enjoyed a happy ending. But I just think that that's what makes it a tragedy. That's what makes it sad. Now we see Rerir, who is an assassin for the Khaenri'ah dynasty, for the King Irmin, and we see Tholindis, who is a very far off generation, far off descendant of the Crimson Moon cult, and it just doesn't make sense. Like when you played through the quest and you saw Tholindis on the page, I was like, why is she here? And then you start to realize, I think that the writers really want to tell you that before that, you had no idea whether these people were direct descendants of the Crimson Moon or whether they were 4th generations, 5th generations or whatnot. There was no hints. The only hints were that this person has been in direct contact with the Crimson Moon people, or this person has not been in direct contact with Crimson Moon people. And of all the people on that list, I think only 4 or 5 people weren't in direct contact with the Crimson Moon, but that's because they were kids and they didn't really understand anything. So when Tholindis's photo came up, and then Rerir finally realized that, I'm doing something wrong. This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong, because the king has started to target 4th generation, 5th generations, people who don't have anything to do with the Crimson Moon. It's like, you're targeting your, let's say you're a king and you fear that, there's a prophecy that's been told to you that one of your cousins is going to take over your kingdom, is going to kill you and take over your kingdom or something like that. And then you live in fear, and then you start killing off your first cousins first. This is all hypothetical, don't take it seriously, but I'm just using an analogy to explain what probably went on in the Vinster King's mind, because until we don't know what exactly he heard and why he went mad, we can just theorize something. So if there's a prophecy that you're the king and your first cousin not even first, the prophecy that your cousin will take over your kingdom. So then you live in fear. At first you start killing your first cousins, but then you don't stop at that. You look at the family tree, you look at bigger relations, you look at the far off relations. Slowly and gradually you grow mad. You grow so mad that you're targeting 5th generation, 6th generation people who don't even know you, who don't have anything to do with you. That is what I felt happened during the King Irmin, Rerir and Tholindis situation, where Rerir finally snapped, where Rerir finally realized that the Vinster King has gone completely mad. And I think that is the point where he actually switched himself and tried to be good. He could obviously not forgive himself nor be forgiven for all the actions that he has done in the past, but I think he did it to maybe do better. You can try to just do better. You can't forgive yourself. You can't do anything before that. What you've done, you can't do anything. But in the future, you could possibly try to be a better person, to atone, although he is far beyond redemption. But maybe he was trying to atone himself or something like that. That's what I interpreted when he let the child go. When he let, I think, this small child who was in contact with Tholindis, he let her go, where he made that really bad joke. But then after that, you see the fall of Khaenri'ah. You see Dane, coming up to Rerir and saying that, the Vinster King has gone completely mad, and he gouged Vedafoni's eyes out because Vedafoni told him something that he didn't like, that the Vinster King didn't like. So, eyes out. And then Dane planned this coup, and they went and attacked the Vinster King, and then they killed him. But then the Abyss broke free, and that's how the Sinners were born. And then you see the Abyss invading Khaenri'ah. People are dying. Tholindis is trapped, and Rerir arrives. Tholindis jumps into the Moon Gate. Rerir cannot go there because he does not have enough power, but the Abyss then manipulates him. And then that's where his thirst for power begins. That's where his actual villain arc begins, with the disappearance of Tholindis. Now, overall, I want to say that I do not think that, he is completely evil, nor he is completely good, nor he is completely redeemable. It's kind of a mixed bag. I believe, obviously the end option for Rerir is to kill him. There is no other way. The only end that I see for him is for him to die. That is it. Now, it may be at the hands of a resurrected Tholindis, it may be at the hands of the Traveler, it may be at the hands of Columbina, I do not know, but I just cannot see him doing anything else. What I did find sad about him was his story with Tholindis. What could have been, he proposed to Tholindis. Tholindis was on the edge. He hadn't confirmed nor denied it. And maybe if they weren't under the rule of the Vinster King, I don't think any of this might have happened. Maybe if there was a king that understood that, creating unity with the Crimson Moon cult is better than, having animosity, having tough relations, broken relations between the Eclipse and the Crimson Moon. I think if we had an understanding king in place of King Irmin, maybe, Rerir and Tholindis might have had an happy ending. I blame everything majorly on the Vinster King, because it's because of his arrival that everything started to go down. I do not know whether Rerir before the Vinster King was an assassin, because it wasn't told in the story. Maybe before the Vinster King's arrival, Rerir was a completely normal person. Maybe he made kebabs on the side, or had a shop or something. We do not know about that. The first thing that we told is King Irmin was there, and Dane Sliff and Vedafoni and Rerir are chatting, and Dane mentions that his job is quite intense and Tholindis might like it. That's where you start to understand that Rerir is doing something very secret, very weirdish sort of stuff that you don't really know, and then you soon realize that he's an assassin and all. But I think that's the part where I look, I see that it's a tragedy. Obviously, he's a monster. What he did under the Vinster King's orders, be it forced, it is wrong. It is wrong, and his crimes should be punished. But I would also like to mention that you cannot just erase the tragedy of this man. I do not want to erase the tragedy that this man went through. It is a what if situation, basically. What if he had a different life? He had a different outcome. He had a different king ruling over him. Maybe things could have been different. Maybe if the Vinster King hadn't gone to control the power of the Abyss, maybe if he didn't want to take the power for himself, if he tried to understand vision technology, or made peace with Celestia or something like that, it might have been a different situation altogether. Khaenri'ah might still be really okay over here. Renova might have not placed the curse of immortality on innocent Khaenri'ahs. So I think overall, when I play through the story, my initial blame, my initial anger, my initial hatred all went towards the Vinster King, because I see that everything just occurred because of him, and it is because of his actions that we see Rerir where he is, where we see Vedafonir having his eyes gouged out, why we see Rhine daughter, Sertology. Now, I don't know, maybe we get future stories with their POV in the, with their POV, like what they were during the Khaenri'ah's time. But overall, it's like Nefer and Varka said in the main story. A tragic tale, but you cannot forgive him. A tragic monster. A monster made out of circumstances, made out of tragic circumstances, but a monster nonetheless. So I just think that, in the end, I just like to call Rerir a tragic villain, not an outright villain, but a tragic villain. That is my understanding of his character. I do hope that, in the future, we get a reunited scene. Maybe Tholindis comes back in the form of, a resurrected god or something, or as a ghost or something, I don't know. But it would be nice. Like, I believe it would be nice to see them reunite. And it would be nice, to see them let go of everything and just proceed into the afterlife. Because both of them deserve each other for obvious reasons. Like, both of them were perfectly made for each other, kept secrets. Yeah, both were selfish. Both are pretty hot, actually. And jokes aside, but I do believe that, there's tragedy, there's this villain, and now I think there shouldn't be a redemption. No redemption. I just want an epilogue now. Let them be reunited in death. I do not care. Selfish people or whatever. Just let them have their ending, let them pass on and get their story over. That is what I wish for them now. I think that's it. Like, that's my opinion on Rerir as a whole. Once again, I'm stating that, when I played through the story, my initial anger wasn't towards Rerir, but towards the Vinster King. But it's probably more of perspective. I don't know. I just don't see Rerir being the cause of everything that happened. Like, honestly, he killed kids, and he is a villain. He is a bad person. He is a selfish person. And you cannot forgive him. Even in today's time, he had that stupid boss fight where he was insanely strong, and I had the stupidest team possible with Hydro Traveler, which means, Lumine is not doing anything over there. But still, like, it'd be nice. It'd be nice that, just see them go into the afterlife. Let them have their one final happy ending before their story completely ends. That is my thoughts. Do not be toxic, please. Like I said, I do not hate Rerir. I just like him as a unique villain. That is it. Beautifully written character, tragic villain, really amazing character arc, and I cannot wait to see what is in store for him next. So until then, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Goodbye.